I think, for me, the key idea in social psychology as a non-social psychologist is just to understand how people influence each other, and I mean that's bystander effect, prejudice, obedience, conformity, social facilitation. So getting some kind of sense about that, to me, would be one of the, or maybe the kind of overarching goal of a social psych unit.
One of the things that's a real disadvantage for me in this is that not having taught social psych, I really don't know where the misconceptions are, or where the, not just misconceptions, but where the personal theories lead them down the wrong paths to interpret things differently, or in opposition to, what the discipline has to say.
Right.
Maybe there's a way.
That's what I was just
during
thinking.
the semester
a pre-test or somebody to kind of assess
that would be
where
handy.
they're coming in.
The idea here is that we're trying in class to get them to generate this model.
Yeah, in some respect.
In some respect.
Right.
Generate
right.
a model, their
right.
model of this.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to reconstruct my own notes.
I like that idea of trying to get them to generate a model and then present them with the model to see how they match up.
So we could give them two groups going home that are the contrast. They do it at home and come in with some scenarios, and then put them in groups with two that have had each of the different versions, and then discuss and develop their models with those contrasting versions. Or they could, as you were saying, you could do it, develop a model, then, okay, now what did these other people do and why is it different?
No, I'm not saying develop a model. I'm basically saying, okay, let's throw it out there and start off with, okay, do people help one another? Here's a scenario. Do you think that they would or would not? Based on what factor? Okay, so now we have one factor up there. Here's another model. Do you think that they're going to help? How does that add or detract from your model?
Okay, so you're talking about really orchestrating this discussion in some way.
Well, I'm wondering whether it's going to go that way or whether it's going to go kind of, try to develop your own model from a series of them and kind of letting them kind of work through it.
Now, that's a good question about whether it should be facilitated in a way, sort of directions. Find one thing, then move on to another thing, or whether you want them to generate these.
I'm just thinking of like a stepwise progression. I mean, they might say no at one particular point, which you would anticipate them saying yes. And you can kind of follow up with either another example or, I mean, maybe that would be too
To me,
hard.
that would be all right, though, because in a way, we're getting them to generate a model. It doesn't have to be this one.
That's
True,
right.
true.
That's right. That's the whole key. I think
true.
is helping them, is getting them to generate a model, whether it's this model or some other model. I think would be is kind of my point. And in fact, I would hope that it would be a different model. I mean, to some respect.
I like the dichotomy of saying, what are the reasons that someone would step forward and help? And what would be the reasons why somebody would not step forward and help? And I would
simplify the world for them.
But we got to make
right
it
here.
Situations, though. In this situation.
Yeah, in this situation.
Try to get them to get different answers for different situations to kind of see rather
But then they would read into it, and we're trying to give them a blank slate and trying to say, let's go beyond that. I mean, and if you're going to say, well, I would help if somebody was with me, I would not help if somebody was not with me. Or if I was in a larger group, or if the bus driver was on the bus, I don't think I'd help. But if the bus driver was there or wasn't